Welcome everybody to Forza Motorsport 7, and today we're taking a look at the 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. Now this was recently released in the Doritos Car Pack, and yeah, it's one of the few modern cars that I've been really looking forward to driving on this game. So yeah, basically it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT with the Hellcat engine squeezed into the front of this car. So yeah, that obviously means plenty of power and plenty of speed and some track capability. So yeah, it's got the 6.2 litre supercharged Hemi V8 that we've all come to know in the likes of the Challenger and the Charger Hellcat cars, and yeah, that means 707 horsepower and 645 pounds-feet of torque. So yeah, the usual stats for this engine. There's been no upgrades or downgrading in terms of the power at all. It's the same engine, just in a different car. So yeah, and not just a different car, but a completely different car, because obviously the Charger and the Challenger are rear-wheel drive sports muscle cars, whereas this is obviously an SUV with all-wheel drive, not rear-wheel drive. So there are differences to be had from this car compared to those two cars. Obviously the all-wheel drive, the off-road capabilities, the fact that this car is more practical than both of those cars, as you can see it's got a huge rear boot, and yeah, plenty more headroom as well, and really rather nicely pointed inside as well, as you can see. Pretty much just like the standard SRT that is already on this game from 2014. So yeah, it's got plenty going in that regards, and quite frankly I do like the look of it as well. The only real issue I have is with that little lip there that you can see under the grille, which is under the Jeep name. So yeah, that's the only real issue I have with the car in terms of looks. Just looks a bit like a moustache, to be honest. But everything else is pretty much spot on. So yeah, obviously with this being the most powerful Jeep ever, and easily one of the most powerful SUVs ever, we're going to have to take this out onto the track. So let's take it out there and see what it can do. Alright, we're at Road Atlanta full circuit. We're going to take this car around for a couple of laps and see what it's made of. So yeah, a hell of a lot more power than the SRT, which has about 475 horsepower thereabouts. So yeah, this is hell of a big improvement in terms of power and torque, which obviously means that it is fairly quick, and with that supercharger whine it sounds pretty good as well, going along with that V8 we've all come to know and love from the previous two Hellcats. So yeah, handling wise, unfortunately it is not a massive difference from the SRT, which is a shame really, because obviously the SRT doesn't have all that much power compared to this, and is able to handle it, whereas this obviously has more power than that SRT, and with little additional changes it struggles a little bit in areas. It certainly has bagfuls of understeer, which you would expect rather than 707 horsepower. Not sure how it's split among the four-wheel drive system, but if it is 50-50, that's a hell of a lot of power going up front, and it kind of shows in terms of the weight as well, because this car does weigh 5,350 pounds, so not only are we dealing with far more power, but a fair bit of weight as well. It's actually somewhat heavier than the standard SRT, which I guess is no surprise, because it is a more modern car, so more modern features etc. are going to add weight, as well as the supercharger on top of the engine. Yeah, the engine is actually slightly smaller than the Hemi in the SRT. It's 6.2 rather than 6.4, but obviously the supercharger makes up for that slight cubic capacity downgrade. Yeah, understeer is the biggest issue with this car handling wise. The brakes are all fairly good. There are Brembo brakes which have been added on, though they don't offer a massive difference over the standard SRT brakes. But obviously the comparisons to be made are to the Charger and the Challenger Hellcat vehicles, and it's somewhere in between, quite frankly, for me. I've never been a massive fan of the Challenger Hellcat. I do prefer the lesser versions of that car, and this is actually quicker 0 to 60 according to this game by 0.1 of a second at 3.5 seconds, but it is 0.1 of a second slower than the Charger apparently, which is no surprise because obviously this car weighs a lot more than both of those cars, not far off £1,000 in fact. So yeah, it really is the all-wheel drive system making up for that weight in terms of 0 to 60 time. But unfortunately that only means it's obviously helpful in terms of launch etc. As soon as you start getting up to 0 to 100 times, it does start to widen up in terms of a gap. 8.2 seconds to 100 as comparison to the Challenger Hellcat, which can do 0 to 100 in 7.6 seconds, and the Charger 7.215 seconds. So not all that far off the Challenger, but a fair way off, nearly a second off the Charger, which shouldn't really be any surprise considering how much more weight this is dealing with, and obviously the faster you go in, the weight comes into effect, and obviously aerodynamics, etc. So that is no real surprise, but yeah, it is somewhere in between the two for me. It's better than the Challenger, purely because it's more practical, it's a little bit more insane to have such a large SUV with so much power. But it's slightly below the Charger just because the Charger is more fun to drive, and obviously lighter and a bit more responsive in that regards, and obviously a little bit faster. So yeah, overall it's a solid vehicle, quite frankly, and yeah, only being slightly below the Charger is a fairly impressive achievement, quite frankly, considering, you know, it's got more weight, it's a bigger car, it's got all-wheel drive, etc. like that. So yeah, I am fairly impressed by it, to be honest, and yeah, really glad it's on the game, unlike some people which have been fairly negative towards this car's inclusion in the game, with a couple of the other SUVs that were included in the Doritos Car Pack. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it in the game, and yeah, I'm glad we've got a properly insane SUV in terms of horsepower ratings out there, and it's not all too shabby to drive. It's just a shame it looks a little bit less good in terms of styling than the SRT, and obviously handling wise it could be a fair bit better. But then again, I guess if you start making the handling a whole lot better, you're going to start competing with cars that are, you know, a fair bit more luxurious and a fair bit more upmarket, like the Porsche Cayenne, for instance, which is a far better handling car than this, which is also in the new Doritos Car Pack, and also stops a lot better, and sounds pretty decent as well, to be honest. But this just edges it out in terms of styling and character, and it's a little bit obviously unique having all that power. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.